Markowitz. I work with the Squannacook River Rail Trail Group, and I live on School Street.
Adria?
Hi, Adria Boynton. I'm a resiliency specialist with Wesson and Sampson.
Emmy?
Good morning. I'm Emmy Hoff. I'm the Director for Recreation here in Townsend.
And Jen?
I am Jennifer Eaton from the Conservation Commission.
Joan S.
Joan Savoy from Townsend Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
And Emily?
Hi, I'm Emily Austin Bruns. I'm a Townsend Recreation Commissioner.
And I'm Veronica Kell. I'm on the Board of Selectmen. So did everybody get the agenda that I sent out? It was late when I sent it out. I'm sorry. I just didn't get it done till then. So what I'd like to accomplish today is location of signs, decisions as to what the signs look like. So close in on the signs and what they look like. Also the bike racks, repair stations, basically location. We need to get our location of things as finalized as we can. Design decisions, identify which vendors and start working on costs. And then Joan put together a wonderful document from the grant itself, the questions we have to answer. I don't know that that's gone out to a wide audience. Joan, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to retry. And so, yeah, Emmy, thank you. We have some things that we can share. So if you could make Emmy able to share her screen, and I think for now make me able to share my screen too if we need it for the map. So that's what I have. Does anybody have anything they want to add to the agenda? Okay, so I want to just say one thing. I did send, I think I CC'd all of you on it to Elisa. And Emmy, I think one thing I'd like you to share is what the signs look like in Concord. I don't know if everybody has seen that. I do have a question out regarding existing poles, and I think it's highway, the building inspector, and we probably have to have the Historical Society to agree. But I drove around the town common yesterday looking at all the signs, and I really think we can either add to some of those or replace some of those. You know, including what's already there, especially like Brookline Street, Meeting House Road on the island. Why can't we just have something that says, and Meeting House Park this way, under Meeting House Road, and under Brookline Street, Howard Park that way? So we have a little more talking to do on that, but I really want to, so I'll stop talking. Emmy, if you could share your Concord signs, that would be great.
Yeah, let me get into the share screen here. Let's see, here we go. All right, so I went ahead and did some Google mapping, and because I remember I used to drive through Concord all the time for work, and I was like, you know, 90% of Concord is a historical area, and I know they have signs that are more than just, you know, Route 13 this way, Lunenburg, you know, whatever. So I was a little confused, and I was trying to just sort of suss things out. I did send an email to Mass DOT, to their transportation planning department, requesting some additional information for this, because we are looking at promotional signs like, you know, Bob's Discount Clothing. You know, we're looking at actual signage for directions for our town space. So I did go into Concord, like I said, and sort of take a look around, and I pulled some photos of kind of what we're looking at for like our islands, and sort of seeing what we're at. Like you can see on this one here, we've got this little brown sign here, and then I've got, let's see here, trying to pull it up. So same thing here. Here's a street sign here with extra signage on the far side, and then another one with brown sign here.
Did it switch? I'm still looking at 22A and 62 East.
It did switch. Did you guys not, that one's not switching with you? I'm on Monument Street. Is that one not showing?
No.
All right, let me clear this one out. All right, how's screen sharing has stopped. Okay, that's weird. Okay, let me try that again. and see if I can pull it up. Oh, is
I
it going to make
thought that if you hit that arrow, it would have changed for us too, because it was what
me
you
too.
learned.
All right. Oh, here we go. Okay,
Yeah.
so Monument Street, Northbridge, Old Manse right here. We've got two on this little island here. Sorry, this one's sideways, but you can see we've got signs here, street signs here, hospital sign here, and an information arrow, which was pointing towards their town hall section. And then we've got here, they just popped a road work ahead, but again, we've got the blue signs with multiple directionals, the arrow and what they are. This is the Concord Museum and Chessman House. And then here, another one of these islands, and you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's actually a low sign here on the other side. I didn't get a picture of it. 5, 6, and then there's actually a small one down here, 7. And then this is a long, tall light up across the top. Again, in an island off of the street signs, it's like they use this top section to piggyback. And the same thing here, they use this top section of the sign, this yield sign, as a piggyback for their directionals for their historical areas. And then here you can see this is right off of their common. If you look to the right-hand side, you've got your 62 sign, you've got a sign down at the base, and you've got a brown sign here and a street sign. And then over here, you've got on their common, you've got these signs right here. So these are their directionals right on the corner of their common. On the other side, they have the same. I also wanted to show this because this has the crosswalk signs that we're looking for. If you look down at the bottom here in between their crosswalks. And I do have some screens when we get to that section for various vendors and looks for those too. And then that's it for those. So that's what I have for my Concord pictures. Like I said, I just pulled them because I was just really confused. Like I said, I understand the one signage, like if we were advertising a band concert or if we're advertising, something, but we're not. And the other thing that Elisa had mentioned that it was just a confusion. I just don't know the parameters of it, reading off of I think it was 40C or 8, section 8, something like that. They've got the signage up, the 2 wooden posts on the common that they interchange signs for, which would be considered a temporary, not a permanent sign, since they interchange the signs for everything. Half the time there is no signage up there. So I just wasn't quite sure, like I said, when we talked, and then when I saw the follow-up about especially the island sections, those look like, again, Concord is like all historic. There's no way for them not to have signage pointing to where they're going. So I just wanted to see if that's something that is optional, if it's something that just Townsend won't do, or if it's something that isn't done at all. And it does look like there are various options for the various colored signs, depending on what you're sending people to or directing them to. And it looks like you can do some piggybacking off of the normal street signs. So I think it's just something that we should maybe look at a little bit further before we get too crazy. Maybe today, looking at signage areas and optional changes, but maybe sort of delve into that a little bit further, Veronica, before we say, okay, well, no, we're absolutely not using that little island at School Street. I just think we should, especially because the island on School Street actually has an empty post also. Yeah. So there's a completely empty post sitting, is like already on it. So I just feel like there has to be something in the rules about town signage versus signs for things. You know what I mean? Because it's directional, and safety wise, it's not necessarily clutter signs. I don't know. I just had some more questions about that, I guess.
Joan.
Thank you. If someone wants to direct me to the document, I'll read up on that. Our town regs, and then we'll take it from there. And, maybe we could invite the historical commission to meet with us or address some questions.
As far as town regs go, Eric pretty much punted to the Historical Society in what he sent us earlier, but you can look under I think it's reports and bylaws or something like that off to the left on the website. Yep. You go there and you go to the town charter, just look for signs.
Oh, it's in the charter? Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the charter.
Okay.
And the historical is in the email that I sent out from Elisa.
Yes.
You know, that points you to Mass General Law. I think it's chapter 40. And she was addressing section 8 on signage. And that was what she read at our meeting the other day. So I do think we need more information. I think that it's really highway and building that we need to talk to, and then the Historical Society, because I'm not so sure the Historical Society governs those street signs. And I'm with Emmy in that I don't see any reason not to piggyback signs on there, you know, on the posts that exist.
Yeah, that was sort of my take too. I think that that's a highway or DOT thing. I don't think it's Historical Society, as long as, again, the signage is part of the street signage. We're not putting up a sign that says, you know, buy cotton candy for the high school. Like, you know, we're not, it's a directional sign to an actual geographic location in our town. So I feel like that's
I agree with you.
DOT issue, not necessarily a commission issue. If we were looking to post, and again, I can understand for like the "You Are Here" sign on the common. I get that. That's a completely different animal.
Yeah, but I agree.
For our hiking, biking, parks, those are all historic areas. You know, if we want to eventually get to the signs where we're pointing them down towards the harbor and down to, you know, I feel like I said, even the photos off of Concord sort of dictate that that's an allowable thing.
Right.
And I don't know, again, if they've obviously have to go by the Mass General Law, but maybe their charter's completely different than ours, where they allow, I don't know. And maybe Joan, that would be awesome if you wanted to look it up. I'm not as versed in that sort of thing, and I don't have the background experience to decipher all of it. So it just caught me as odd.
So Joan, if you want to look at the sign bylaw for town and whatever's in there for the Historic District Commission, and see if you can look at that for highway, and let me check in with Jim Smith and Eric Chartrand and see what they say about that. What I did notice, Emmy, is on those great big green signs that have like Route 62, et cetera, it doesn't look like they piggybacked on those signs, like the ones that the Department of Transportation would put. Did you see that the same as me?
Yeah, they didn't piggyback off those, but there was multiple other signs in the same spaces. And that was my point. It's those big, huge ones, you know, like Route 13 or Route 62 or whatever they had, Route 2A, but next to it, they'd have another sign with additional. So it wasn't like that was the sign that took up the one sign that's allowed in that entire area, according to Historic. They had multiple signs with it. So it didn't look like the big ones that were like state highway directives were piggybacked on, but the yields, the street signs, the hospital, I mean, even the hospital sign was piggybacked on. So I feel like there has to be an option for utilizing those areas for additional signage.
Okay.
I don't know how Concord got around it if there isn't. Like I said, 90% of Concord, and I only went to the Monument and Lexington Street area. I could have Google mapped streets for hours in Concord, but I stayed in a really small segment. But like I said, most of Concord is historical. They've got like 6 or 7 historic districts, and there's signage all over the place because that's how tourists find their way around. So I just feel like there's got to be something, and I really appreciate, Joan, if you would do that. I apologize if I'm overstepping anywhere. It just struck me as weird.
No. You're not overstepping. These are the questions that we need. So Joan's going to investigate. I'll talk to Eric and Jim and Jim Smith and see what we can garner from them. But what I would like to do right now, because we can't finalize everything, but there are some things that we can. So what I did is I looked at the map, and I want to screen share that right now, if that's okay with everybody, and go over where we do have signs. And so this is our version 3 map. Can everybody see that on their screen? So what I think we need to do, looking at the signage, I want to look first at those 2 circles on the common. The 2 parking signs, I've X'd those out for now. we might be able to put them on a post that exists, but for now I've eliminated them. So we can look at eliminate the parking on the, sorry that I'm writing on my keyboard, eliminate the P, if you guys all agree, and investigate if they can be moved logically. You know, where would we put those parking signs logically? We're going to have one down at Bow Street and McNabb's, you know, common parking, you know, left and right. But beyond that, I'm not sure.
Veronica,
Yes.
if we can't put that P right in the center there on Highland Street at the north end of the common, what if we moved it to the right up Highland Street where Bow Street comes in?
That's a good idea. Does everybody see where Joan's putting that? It's over by the Parks and Cemetery building, kind of, right on that corner.
So
Yeah,
we'll narrow it down and people, then we've got all four corners kind of covered and sending people to the middle.
Okay.
yeah, that was sort of my thought too, because we can still put one at the edge of Riverbank Terrace there. So that'll point down to Jeff's. And if we've got parking at Bow Street and we send them up Bow Street, and then at the end of Bow Street, park them, send them left towards the common.
Perfect. And they'll see the parking lot there.
Right. And coming from West Townsend, they would see the parking sign at Riverbank Terrace
Correct.
first and foremost. So
Right.
that was, we hit all of them.
We could even make that parking sign have one to the right and one straight ahead to, well, maybe not. No, just to Jeff's. That's good enough.
Ronnie?
Okay. Yeah.
Wouldn't the resource be that one empty pole that's already planted at the Honeywell Pot Farms there? Honeyleaf Farms?
If we can put a sign on it, we don't know. So I'm going to skip that for now. Okay. But that is a good suggestion. Empty pole at Honeyland. Although there's nothing on it, and that could say, we're adding a sign. I was hoping for poles that have signs on them to piggyback. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With an empty pole, they can say, oh, you're adding a sign. We don't want it. Anyway, empty pole at Honeyland. Okay, I'm writing that down. All right, so those are the two P signs. The M sign is the You Are Here map. I was wondering if I have two places to possibly put that. One is down on Depot Street at the rail trail, the parking lot there. Put a You Are Here map there. We have one on the Jeff Streets lot. Eventually, has it been approved yet, Joan? Do you know the parking lot on Depot?
Yeah, it is.
It is approved. So perhaps we could put that You Are Here map there.
I was planning to suggest that. I thought it was kind of an oversight. People be coming, either parking at the rail trail or coming from maybe West Groton or some other places up the rail trail. And it'd be nice to show them this is where you are in the center of Townsend.
So we're looking at right here for an M for the You Are Here map. And the other thing I added right there was a bike rack. An R for bike rack. I don't know if you guys already have plans for that, Joan.
We won't get to that kind of thing for several years, I don't think. So yeah, if you guys can do it, if this group can do it.
If the town can put it on that Depot Street lot, even if we buy the signs and then install them when you guys are ready. I don't know, or install them and then move them when you have the parking lot completed.
Well, the parking lot should be completed in spring. So
in the spring, perfect then. So I think we should put an M and an R right here, if that's okay with everybody. So note that. The other place that I thought of for moving this M, since we can't put that there, is, that island right here in front of Cliffs, where you always cross over. I'm not sure if that's veterans designated or not. Does anybody know for sure? But that's another place that I was thinking about for a You Are Here map. Mm-hmm. But we could, maybe that's too much. What do you guys think?
The other thought that I had was there seems to also be an island at the end of Bow Street and Highland Street. Now, again, I don't know if that would be a visual blockage because, you're kind of coming out looking for traffic here and there. But there is a pedestrian walkway that goes, I believe, across Highland Street and Route 13 right there. So if people are walking, they might have interest in looking at a sign. Again, I don't know if that would be, block visuals to traffic or anything like that.
Yeah, we should. That's another. The problem with the "You Are Here" map there, for me, is that do people gather on that island? Would that be?
Not really.
No.
With all respect, I don't see that many people going through there. School kids sometimes that are walking to school, and that's about it. And it's not really it's not a safe feeling place to pause.
All right.
So what about, we have on Main Street, right past Town Hall and the library, we have that bridge over the Squanicook. What about at the corner edge of that, having a "You Are Here"? Because then we could have the river, West Townsend, pointed, directional to Groton, etc. Smaller, not like a big one, but a smaller one that has maybe instead of being super detailed, but 119 Main Street, 13, Groton, West Townsend, Ashby, and then a couple of, and we could just have the symbols, not necessarily all of massive amounts of details for our various points of interest. Right on that corner edge before you get onto the bridge there on Squanicook, over the Squanicook River, right before you get, so it's right at the library.
Or like here?
Library.
So right.
Sorry, I'm blocked over here. So yeah, so if you go, right to the edge there of the library, of that area before you get onto that bridge, you've got there's that big post there, the big bridge post, the granite one there, but maybe right off of that, because that is, pretty well walked, and maybe and with it being the Squanicook River, maybe it makes sense to have something there. I don't necessarily want to lose people coming off of our Main Street. So I don't know if it makes sense to have something further down that neck of the woods, or if at this point, until we can figure out a way to get around this, to just hold off on the "You Are Here's" other than the one at the rail trail.
Well, we have one here at Jeff Street parking.
Right, and the Jeff Street parking.
We'll add one here. So maybe that's good enough for now.
I think so. I think where you cross the Squanicook, I appreciate the idea of, I think anyone walking there or biking is a little more of a long distance walker or biker. They probably know where they are.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think that there's other than on the common, it doesn't make sense to put another one because we don't have any other big group parking like that or a congregating area to designate.
Maybe we set our sights a little lower and like we said, we'll get other chances to expand this.
What about putting one here at Depot, at that parking lot? Are we good with
definitely.
that?
Yeah, I say definitely.
So then let's just do the two.
Yep.
So we have two "You Are Here." And then the X right there at 13 and on the common, that railroad crossing, I'm just throwing that out. What do you guys think?
Well, again, if we can, we have signage at that corner of the common at the four-way crosswalk. Okay. If we could put signs on that, if they allow us to, as a piggyback situation, then we could put directional signs there. If we can't, then that's, anything basically at the common is out the window, which is sad for our town if that's the case. Like if it's up,
Ronnie, you asked for clarification on that from Elisa, right?
I did send for clarification, and I'm going to pretty much forward a similar message to Eric and Jim Smith.
Yeah, so maybe we shouldn't spend much more time on it until we get our answers.
Okay, so if piggybacking, the exit the common.
Yeah, and we did want, for sure, we're still good because it's that island space up at the top corner of Highland and Bow still, right? That one, we're definitely going to put a railroad. The other question was, again, going back to Concord, was that island at School Street.
This is the one that's in question, and I'm leaving those there. If piggybacking, the exit School Street and the exit the common. I want us to start counting up how many signs where. Because we have to start getting prices in, and what Joan said about having to set our sights a little lower might be where we go just to get it done and get as much as we can. So the exit school, if piggybacking, the exit the common, and the exit the school stay. The exit Bow at Highland and Brookline stays. So I think, let me just look at what I had because I was moving things around. Oh, I know where I was putting the exit the common right there at 13 and 119. If we can't piggyback there, maybe we want to make that right at the corner of Riverbank, saying Town Common,
Veronica, what about that little area that you were asking? Is that a veterans thing on the corner of Osgood and Main Street there? Like that little section is not part of the historic district. That tiny little V.
So move it there. Okay, so I'm going to move it there instead of down to Riverbank.
I mean, is that a possibility? Because I mean, it's still super close to that intersection.
Right, and it's people that cross over to Cliffs would see it, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the other possibility. So what we need to do is define what goes on the X's for the crosswalks. What do we want on each of them? We don't have to do that right now, but we should set up groups at the end. I'm going to stop this share right now because I hope that Hartley is looking for Margaret coming in. Has anybody seen that? Because I expect her to come in here shortly. So Hartley, are you there? Margaret Kent could be coming in, so just monitor for her coming. Thank you. All right, so for signage, we're pretty much what we have on the map then, other than the X's. And we need to define what we're putting on each sign. So I need somebody to head that up. If somebody could take that on, as I'm going to look at that, I'll continue to shake the bushes in town to get the answers to what we can piggyback on signs. But if people could, if someone could look and define what's on each sign. Emmy, do you have time to do that?
I don't mind if somebody wants to give me a hand with it. I've already done a ton of research into these signs and I need to follow up. Jim's a hard man to get a hold of, let me tell you. And I do realize we've been in a bit of a weather situation. He's doing a lot of work off of that and working way more hours than the man is getting of sleep anyway. So I know he's hard to get a hold of, but like I said, I have a bunch of screens up already and I know we're waiting for Margaret to get on, but I can share them at some point, but I do have a lot of options for those. And like I said, if somebody wants to come in with me and meet with me a couple times and we can sort of figure out which direction the arrows have to go in and, and I know Margaret was saying there are specific signs that are MUCU something rather. I have them. I can't remember the acronym, but that are regulated for universal for like bikes and stuff like that. So pulling some of those and trying to get those symbols correct. Like I said, I'm happy to do it and I'd love somebody to give me a hand with it.
I mean, I could help with you with that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Whoever wants to help would be great.
Now, I have a question because I know we've split off things like, okay, these are the parking ones. These are the railroad sign locations. If we could just go on the map and count how many locations or clusters we have so that when Emmy and I and whomever else go through kind of like, this is, cluster one, and these are all the things that are going to be at this one location, just so that we're on the same page with all of our clusters. So
on the abstract, I've been kind of trying to do that. I had 3 to 5 parking signs, and that depended number 2 and 3. 2 of them were dependent on. Oh, there's Margaret. Oh, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Margaret's coming in.
She's in.
Hello, Margaret.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
We're right now talking about signs, so just jump in and listen to us. But on the abstract, I was trying to do that, and so Emmy and Emily, if you could go through, I will update this because right now the You Are Here flat maps, it would be Jeff Street parking, and the second one would be depot at the rail trail. Mm-hmm. From what we just decided.
Jen, are you in this too? I saw you with your hand. You're in this too? Yeah. Okay. Just making sure. I'm like, I need all the people. I need all the people.
I just have so much other things to do that keep, fuel assistance, blah, 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 that I just don't have time, or I would be right in there with you. So,
and Veronica, we could certainly take a look at the map and take a stab at the clusters. And then if for whatever reason we're missing something, we'll share it out, and then you guys can say, oh, you forgot here, that kind of thing.
Right. Look at the abstract, because I did try to do a count, but I didn't cluster them, so you might want to redo that. Okay. And write it a different way. I can send you this is a doc, I'm using Word for this. So I can send you that so that you can update it based on what we're talking about.
Okay.
If everyone wants to add to their map now too, I think we should put another one of the bike repair stations down at Depot Road. That's the head of our rail trail, and talking with Jen especially, that would be another good spot to have one. Eventually I'd love to have one up by the Dudley Road trailheads too. But they don't seem like they're super cost prohibitive. And Jen and I already actually found one fundraiser that may work to do that if we want to do that later on down the line when we get bike racks down that end of town. But I really think having a bike repair station, especially if we get one of the wheel locks too, the mounts, would be a good place. Joan, is that something that the rail trail would be open to us providing?
I don't see why not. We're meeting next week. I'll bring it up. I've already made everyone aware of this project going on and gathered some feedback.
Okay, that'd be great.
But I don't see why not.
I think you can share what we're doing openly with them. So, all right. So bike repair station down at the rail trail.
Yeah, that depot parking lot.
And the one that we have behind the rec center, location of that is TBD. I would like to keep it behind the rec center if we can, but if we can't, we'll purchase it. If, we'll put it in the grant, we'll move it to Jeff Street.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a problem having it behind it. Because like I said, when we pulled them up before, and again, I have a screen, I'm happy to pull them up again because I was trying to show you with my phone. But that segment behind the rec station where my walkway turns up, that segment corner where it's at the corner of my building and the walkway would actually be a fantastic spot because they're out of the major parking area, but they still have the hard surface to work on their bike, and it's not so heavily trafficked that it's an issue. So I think that'd be a really great spot. And again, they're not humongous. Right. They're not like it's not a big structure. It's like it's a post, and again, having it right there, we'd be able to see it. Security would be able to see it. It would be close enough to the building that anybody messing around is going to be like really pretty visible.
I could envision you having programs like having a bike repair clinic,
Right.
I'm going to volunteer around steers.
And that fits right in with safe routes to school.
Exactly. Because we're actually on that way with a lot of the walking, and with our programs, we do a lot of the walking. We go to the schools and we walk the kids to our rec center. So it's right along lines with that. And that was something that was priority listed in the grant application that Joan had shared out, that having senior access and safe routes to schools, the school children access and availability is a better priority. So I agree on that. And I don't think it would be a problem to put it in that back corner area. you know, we know digging's not an issue because they just did the walkway there when we got the building. And again, it's off enough the path that we're not worrying about kids being in the parking lot trying to do this or around cars that are moving to do it.
So I'm putting 2 bike repair stations in then. One, and I will update the abstract before I send it to you guys, if that's okay, from today. So 2 bike repair stations, one at Depot Street, one by the rec center.
Mm-hmm.
Bike racks, I'm keeping the one on the Common, keeping the one at Jeff Street, adding one at Depot Street. Should we put one behind the rec center?
So if you go back to complete streets, there's actually bike rack is included in the parking area for town hall. So I don't know if we want to.
We could put it in the town hall parking area.
Yeah, there is, you know, we could certainly do that because that is part of the list. The thing is, if we did one at the rec center where we have the repair station, it would have to be only like a 2 bike rack. The space is small there. But if we put it in the town hall parking, in that, and I think when we did complete streets, we were looking in that back area, like where the dumpster is, because again, it's off of the main flow of massive amounts of, you know, cars trying to get in and out. It's in that back corner. That might be, I think that would be a good spot.
Okay, 4 bike racks then. And I think the rest, crosswalks. That's the next thing we need to talk about. Crosswalks and sidewalks. So we're on location decisions, Margaret, so you know where we are. We're trying to make this. Jen, you have your hand raised.
Hi, I had a question. The one thing that I feel like we haven't talked about that I feel like it might be missing is we haven't talked about any benches for people to like take a break and rest, like whether it's in the parking lot or along the rail trail. Is that possible at all?
That's a nice idea.
We do have plans for benches along the rail trail. But not.
I just worth mentioning.
I think it's a good idea. I think at this point, since it's not on our list, you know, unless we get down to the end, and I think we need to finish what we're working on here and so we get a grant application in. It's more of a time thing. It's a good idea. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do the rest of you think?
I think it's a great idea, but I do think that there's additional grants out there that we can look at for things like that. There's a Tracks Kids grant that has to do with trails for kids that could has stuff like that on it, and there's a couple of other ones too that may be a little further down the line, but better suited.
We could also do some sort of fundraising thing for memorial benches. If people were, you know, the town would like to put in these 5 benches at these locations, you know, if, you know, do sort of something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea for a future thing.
Okay.
Emily, you did a great thing with the crosswalks. Margaret, did you, there's a separate placemaking grant. Okay.
Oh, placemaking. National Fitness Campaign. Community garden. What?
Community garden, the market behind the town hall. We like this, Margaret. Thank you very much.
We need placemaking. I want to build my fitness court.
That's right. So we'll, all right. Thank you. So Hartley, please capture this link for us so that we have that. And let me see if I can bookmark it. Add bookmark. All right, so let me get back here. Go ahead.
Did you guys want to take a quick look at what we're looking at for signage for the vendor situation? Are we there? Oh, no, we're still undecided.
I wanted to get just where we're putting things kind of as well nailed down as we can today. So could we look at the crosswalks? Do you have Emily's crosswalk study up?
I can pull it up. Yeah. Give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can grab that back up again. Here we go.
I think, Emily, that if you didn't send it to everybody, I think I did. Anybody that wasn't on that list. So everybody should have seen. Emily drove all over town after our last meeting and took wonderful pictures of all of the crosswalks for their conditions. And then you are a wonderful graphic artist. I loved how you circled the spaces and then pointed us to the crosswalks. So, and Bonnie helped too. So thank you, Bonnie. We appreciate it. So, Emmy, can you share that?
Yeah, give me 1 second to try and pull it up again. Veronica, I think you sent that. You sent it to us as a.
I think it might. I'm not sure. Let me.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I think I just sent it.
I don't mind sharing it if I have it up.
Do you have it?
Can you give Emily Austin Bruns, I don't know if I said your name right, but Emily access to co-host so she can share her screen?
Yeah, because I can't find it. It's in there, but it'll take too long.
Come on, Emily, you should be able to do it.
All right. Yep. Make sure I got the right screen.
Yeah, and I do want a huge shout out again to Emily and Bonnie, because I was buried under a mountain of work and they were like, hey, we'll take over. Let's go. We're going to do the crosswalks. And then they're texting me as they're going, I got this one. I got this one. Did you get this one? It was awesome.
That's so great.
Are you guys seeing the right thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good.
We're at the ABCD, that ABCD. So I think for area, we should concentrate on A, B. I'm not sure how far up C is, but certainly A, B for what we're doing for our part of the grant.
I do think too, we really, again, for that safe streets for schools, I really think we should make sure that we take care of those sidewalks on Route 13 headed towards Hawthorne Brook and on 119 headed towards Spalding to those schools. Whichever crosswalks are in those areas, we definitely want to make sure that we repaint and get the crosswalk standy, blinky things for those major ones. Because again, it's a priority. It looks good. It's a priority, and obviously we want to do it for them anyway.
Correct. All right. So Emily, what do you have here?
Okay, so I just unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is what I called Upper Route 119 headed westbound, towards Ashby. So you've got Spalding Memorial School. I did not take a picture of this crosswalk up here just because I assumed that there wasn't going to be another one. But as I look on Google Maps, there is another one there. But I did take, a picture of almost the rest of them in town. And then you could see, this is not in horrific shape, but could use a repainting. If you look at the bottom, the one on Turnpike Road that crosses 119, one side is barely visible, while the one that crosses Turnpike Road is yellow, which is a lot more vibrant and visible. I believe it was 2 summers ago when Emmy had been using Spalding for summer rec program, and there was like a horrific thunder, lightning storm, microburst or whatnot, and they were quickly moving children from Spalding across Main Street to the rec center, and people just did not see. I can't remember which intersection or crosswalk it was, but the driver could not see them. If that was yellow, it might have been more visible, especially in that kind of weather. So something to think about. And I don't know if we're looking to make I don't know, what qualifies for a yellow crosswalk versus, just the lines. But anyway, this shows what we currently have.
That one especially, and I remember we talked about that whole site survey visibility. I don't know how or why they ever decided to put one there. The visibility coming down from that slight incline and then coming up is horrible. I actually, when we run and stuff, we go all the way up to the one at the top at the parking lot of Spalding Memorial instead of taking the one down at the Turnpike point. I think if we do anything with that crosswalk, that one for sure deserves the bright light, putting one of those signs that has the actual lights up at the walking person, because that one it's very scary. It's used a lot. And I will say my counselors were incredible with those children, but car accident right there in front of them as they were crossing to the crosswalk, because they just, even with, you know, umbrellas and bright raincoats, it's just the visibility is really bad there. So
now the one at the parking lot at Spalding, it does have that yellow pedestrian sign, which is not present at Turnpike Road, at the bottom of Turnpike Road. You know, so that, again, I don't know the rhyme or reason of where those signs go, but you know, that's another thing lacking in terms of visibility. But definitely, you know, yellow would help. Do you want me to move on to the next page, Veronica, or are we good?
Yeah, I'm putting these crosswalks on my map as we go to have Dennis add them in. So
okay, great. And then Townsend Center. So you know, you can see, you know, at the Townsend Common, like right in front of the Townsend Congregational Church, there's that yellow sidewalk. You've got at, you know, Honeyland Farms. There's also a yellow sidewalk. When you cross 119 at Anderson, it is not yellow, but it's also very.
Click on that one so we can see if you have the bigger.
Do you want me to zoom in?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, the one at Anderson's, you can't even see that it's there.
Right. And this is the one at McNabb's as well. It's very hard to see.
The one at Anderson's, I wouldn't even, if it were up to me, I would discontinue it. It seems to me that it came from a time when people went to funerals by parking near the Common. Now Anderson has their own parking lot. That crosswalk ends in a snowbank in the winter because no one shovels those stairs.
Well, depending on, you know, whose funeral it is, there often is a lot of overflow parking that happens right in front of the Congregational Church parking lot. And especially if they're working hand in hand with a collation at the church, some people will park in both places. So it might be a good idea to still have it, but I do, you know, hear your concerns. The corner here, I mean, as you can see, it kind of is half, not even half, a little bit on the corner there at Honeyland, and then goes right into the other crosswalk. So it kind of actually goes into the street there. Yeah. So it's not well placed. And I think the sign for Honeywell, you know, is right here. So if it even went a little bit more diagonal, there really isn't a great place to receive people on that Honeyland Farm side.
I think when we talked about crosswalks and what we're going to later do, because for right now, we just want to basically, the idea of taking the crosswalks that we have and just emphasizing them while we try and work towards moving some of the crosswalks, because I think we talked about not having that anymore and putting the one at Depot Street instead. So, but for now, that's your other segment of cross area. And I agree, it's weirdly placed, Emily. Like, I don't know how or why, or, you know, why. I don't get it, but I mean,
but like, still not visible. Nevertheless,
you can't see it. So the painting is definitely a big, I mean, it has to be painted. They have to be done.
Yeah. And the one at the post office is fading clearly. Yeah. But what's even worse, you know, if you go the intersection at 119 and Route 13, you know, they're also very faded. You can't even see the crosswalk over here, or headed towards Lunenburg on Route 13. And you know, so it's definitely needs to happen at that intersection.
So I guess, so just let me throw in here that the one thing I did do, and I don't think I CC'd anybody on it, was I had an email exchange with Sherry Bean at MRPC. And she's the one that is doing the bikeability, walkability study right now in Townsend under the UPWP grant that we put in for a year ago. And we are a little late to get in on UPWP for next year, but we could in the fall ask for crosswalk studies to be done. So I told her that we need to prioritize the things that we're learning need to be done, that need studies. Same with down, I talked to her about the center of town and the high school and crosswalks and what we want to change. And she said, just figure out what it is you want that you can't get into this grant, and then be prepared going forward to apply for those grants when they come open. DLTA just closed last week, and UPWP, they're going to be looking at the meeting next week for Montechusett Joint Transportation. So I think we should put in for changing those for next year, get our studies done so that we can then, when another grant comes up, be ready to roll. Meanwhile, I want to identify which one of these do we actually want to repaint. And my feeling is, even though they're poorly placed, we repaint them all.
Yeah. I agree.
I agree. I mean, if we're going to be doing it, we might as well go ahead and do it. I mean,
so I have in the center of town, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 at the corner of 13. You can't see that I'm pointing my finger here at my screen. 13 and 119. Those 4. Even though it's yellow, the one going across to the Congregational Church, the one further down the common over to Honeyland, the one going across to Anderson's, and then the one at McNabb's and at the post office. So for the center of town. All right. So now let's move up 13 if we can. Is that the next? Yes.
Yes. So if we went, as if we were going towards Hawthorne Brook, I'm going to work Hawthorne Brook back to the center of town, if that's all right. That's just how I was able to piece the puzzle map together. So this is right at the Route 13 entrance to Hawthorne Brook, and it's actually, it's still pretty vibrant, but it crosses over to no sidewalks on the other side. But there's a crosswalk nevertheless.
Is that on the police station side of the intersection?
Yes, up at the top of the map, that's the police station. So, that is where that crosswalk is.
Okay.
And there is, for whatever reason, they didn't crosswalk over there. So the crosswalk ends before the driveway for the shared driveway for Hawthorne and Squanicook in the library. And then it's just lawn for the police station. There's no sidewalk there, but there is the crosswalk. It is weird. And then it goes to Dudley. So it's like that one little segment, they just didn't sidewalk, and they put the crosswalk on the opposite side of where the sidewalk was. So it was very strange. Very strange.
All right.
And then if you, head down Brookline Street / Route 13 towards the town center, this is at Cross Street. This next crosswalk. And if you're looking at the picture, my cursor, that's going to the center of town, and this goes to Cross Street. This is just a different angle that I took the picture from.
Yeah.
And then if you continue down, then you have Smith Street is another crosswalk there.
Okay. Those do get used by the kids, walking to school, and then Smith Street. Okay.
And then now we're kind of connecting to the town common. There is another crosswalk at Bow Street. And as you can see, it crosses Highland Street and then over to Brookline Street, right in front of, I'm sorry?
Yeah, this one's a nightmare to get across. That one's a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. The paint's pretty good, but people coming around that corner are not slowing down. And people coming down from the school are also not slowing down, because the speed limit, although it drops down to 20 or something, everybody's still doing 40 from coming down. That one, again, the paint's not horrible, but because it goes across, it goes across that weird joint. And like I said, the visibility around the edges and stuff is not great. I definitely think we need some sort of lighting at that one. I think that one would be a priority one for trying to get something lit or something flashing there.
And Emmy, you had talked at one point about reflective paint, and I don't know if that is what this yellow is, or if there's some other kind of paint, but I think that especially for the nighttime as well, that reflective would be a good idea.
I haven't heard back from Jim, but there is, and I don't know if this stuff was reflective. It was. It's not so much necessarily. I think it. Again, I don't know if it's quality, if it's type, if there's additional insets, or the way they do it. But yeah, that one would definitely be a good one for a little bit more emphasis, I think.
I'm sure the sand usage wears it down too.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those, the signs like in Concord in the middle of the road that say slow down pedestrian crossing or something.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you've got this, nice islander that's not part of the historical district.
Right. Where we can put them on. Yeah.
Okay.
And then lastly is the other crosswalk from, okay, where are we? So now we are right in front of the rectory and that parking lot at the back of the town common. There is a crosswalk there, and there is one of those yellow pedestrian signs like we saw at Spalding. That's on the parking lot side. The weird thing is it ends right at the entrance of the parking lot. So that's where cars are coming in and out, is where that goes to. And
again, the visibility there and it is not great, or the speed, I should say, is not great, because people punch it through that light, punch it around that corner. It's why we talked about doing some other crosswalks and having lights off of School Street there, because they're not stopping until they're stopping on a dime coming at you. And then, as Emily said, the fact that it literally goes right into the center of the ingress and egress for the common is just bizarre. Like, I don't know. It's just, I'm not sure who did those safety site studies, but it was, I think they were a little off.
I think that it's where it's been. I mean, those are where crosswalks have been for 35 years that I've been in town. So I think that's all that was. I don't think it was any more than that. So
yeah, and I think traffic and people having 2, 3, 4 cars per family now instead of having one that's shared has made a huge difference in what we're looking at location wise for crosswalks and ease of movement, walking. Yeah.
May I ask a question about the town common crosswalk?
Mm-hmm.
I see that it's located at that weird position that you described, because there happens to be a ped ramp right across from the driveway entrance. Are there, because of the historical district, are there restrictions on the ability to change where the driveway entrance is, like to shift it over, perhaps by moving some of those stone fence posts, or is that like you can't touch the fence post?
Ooh.
That is a big ask, Margaret, but we can ask and find out.
Okay.
Well, too, because on that corner, so the Brookline Highland Street corner versus the curved corner at School Street, the fence doesn't actually go all the way around that corner. It goes part way, and then there's a couple like little pieces to designate at the driveway area. So there's actually a segment that isn't fenced. It's like it's just a mess right on that corner tip. So
you mean right here, Emmy?
No, the other side.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, up top. Yeah, that segment. There's only bits and pieces of fencing there. It doesn't actually loop all the way around in a continuous fencing. So I'm not sure, that might be, it's a huge ask, because if you can't touch the common. I mean, in those fences, that's like a big to do. But
I mean,
the question, because that segment isn't fenced, without getting rid of fence, could we shift fence to the segment that maybe isn't fenced?
Yeah. I mean, I think ultimately this crosswalk would better serve people accessing the common if it were moved over to where the sidewalk ends.
Yeah.
Where you have a ped crossing sign, but then you have to build a ramp on both sides. Right. Mm-hmm. And of course you would need to study that and the sight distance coming around the corner. Mm-hmm. So this one, just because it's going into a location with driveway conflicts, it might be one to save for study, especially because it's such an important location.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm flagging that because I'm getting ready for the UPWP study for next year, things that we can put in for the crosswalk studies.
Great, yeah.
And that's something that could be considered. But I think for this grant, because of the time frame and the lack of studies, I think we have to go with what we have.
Yeah.
Which is, maybe not ideal, but it's what we have. So.
And then I know you weren't thinking of going further down 119, but just to show this is the crosswalk in front of Stairlight, which we had said can be precarious, especially when people are ending and starting shifts, and it's fading. And then at 119 at the harbor, there's a cooperage down there. All of the crosswalks are kind of fading, some better than others.
But we're buying paint for this. If that's part of the grant is buying the paint for it, does it make sense just to go ahead and include them? Because it's not, buying paint isn't necessarily stuck by location.
Margaret, what do you think about that? If we're concentrating on the center for walkability and we buy extra paint to paint the harbor, can we do that?
So MassDOT is going to look for a cost estimate that wants quantities, for how much striping you're putting down. So we would need to know, where are the crosswalks going, and then we would calculate the length of the crosswalk, the length of each of those bars. Of course, it's a little bit of an estimate because it's planning level. So it might turn out that you have extra paint that you could use, but MassDOT is going to want to know the locations. For Route 119 is a MassDOT owned facility. Mm-hmm. So, are you in conversation with the district at all? I'm not 100% clear on that process, but I just know that you do need to coordinate with them early with district. Is it?
I'm on MJTC, Montechusett Joint Transportation. We are in MRPC, Montechusett Regional Planning District. Okay. I don't know if those are the same districts. There are different MassDOT things, but I have MRPC tonight and I have MJTC on Wednesday. Okay. Go to those meetings. I know I can ask at the Joint Transportation Commission that I can ask these questions there. Did Margaret just drop off?
It looks like you are served by MassDOT District 3.
Mass District 3.
Yeah. I'm going to put the district office contact information in the chat here.
Okay, that'd be great.
I think, so I'm not 100% clear on how that goes. I mean, usually you need to coordinate with them for access permits, but for restriping existing crosswalk locations, that could be a lot more easy to accomplish.
I think that's a gym. It might be a gym question because they've done the striping on it previously. So obviously you have an idea of how he may even have what we need for estimates for paint.
Right. Yeah.
It's just, Veronica, we're going to have to run him to ground. We're going to run Jim to ground. Like we're going to have to do something. Go sit in one of the plow trucks or something until we can snag him. He's so busy, but he seems like he might have a lot of these answers, Margaret. I'm like, got to grab him.
If not, I will ask Brad Harris at MRPC at the MJTC meeting next week, Wednesday, or I'll send him an email and ask that question. Thank you for the link to the MassDOT district, the planning commissions, the MassDOT. That's all.
Yeah, there's a lot of bodies to coordinate with.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So include the harbor in striping. I think as far as including the harbor in the striping, I think we should, if we can. I wouldn't go all the way down to the high school. Those were just redone not that long ago when the school was built. So maybe 2 summers ago, I think, that they repainted there. Is that what you saw, Emily? Am I remembering right?
I didn't go that far, but I would presume the same.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of there, but the harbor makes sense, and people do walk there because of the historic district too, down in that section. So if we can restripe that and include that, I will. So I need to find out if we need a MassDOT permit for, it would be 13 and 119, because those are both MassDOT, those are state roads. all the other roads in town are not, but on 119 and 113 they are.
I did drive from the town center along Route 13 towards Emery Road, and there are not a single crosswalk from the town center to Emery Road. So again, for our study, that might be something to think of, especially when you have those apartments with a lot of children. You know, Emery Road is the entrance to a big community, and also to the land trust areas, you know.
Pleasant Ridge, and then farther up the development on Emery Road back
Right.
in. So I would like to see that, but not in this.
Correct.
And safe routes for school. I mean, we should have a bike lane along 13. We should have a sidewalk, because kids could walk to school from those neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. So, okay. For striping. All right, so I'm writing down MassDOT permits. This is a question for striping on Route 13 and Route 119. Okay. And then we need paint estimates. All right, so going back to it's 11:11 now. We have bike lanes. We haven't talked about sidewalks. We have talked about amenities as far as bike racks and repair stations. We haven't talked about poop bags and porta potties and trash canisters. Margaret, are those things that get put in? They're things that have to be maintained continually by the town, and that can be problematic. So maybe carry in, carry out signage.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of those things that are less transportation focused, I think, you know, if you had one or two in with a much larger transportation project, you could get it by, but it might be more appropriate for a placemaking grant. Okay,
so let's stick with bike racks and repair stations. And maybe on signage, we can add a pack it in, pack it out kind of sign at the parking lots or something, trailheads.
Okay. Do you want me to throw those up really quick? Do you guys want to take a quick look at what I managed to pull? I don't know that did I send them to everybody, the signs?
Yeah,
I think you did. And I made a separate sign thing. I've been trying to move all the links that Jen has sent a bunch of links. You've sent a lot of links, Emmy. I've been trying to make a single page of like a vendor's page.
Yeah.
So I'll send that out to you later today with all these minutes and all. I'll attach it.
Well, yeah, because if we can have at least a general idea, then I can call over to these places, Permaline and CPC, and there was another one that I was looking at. But I could call over and say, okay, well, this is generally what we're looking at. Yada, yada. What are we looking at for pricing, bulk, time frame, etc. So I figured if we could kind of at least take a look and get a general idea, and then they can tell me if something is possible or not.
Okay, so let's go down to design decisions, Emmy, and share your screen. Let's look at those signs.
All right, let me pull up. Okay, yeah. I just, like I said, I just figure like if we could try and find something. Okay, so this was the bike repair stations. That's not what I'm looking for right now. I'm trying to find, nope, not that one. Okay, so I'm here. So here's some of the crosswalk stuff that I was looking at. They have the breakaways that can go right smack dab in the center of. They also have these, you know, the fancier push button kind. I think we were primarily looking at these sort of center ones for our major crosswalks. And then, like I said, I do feel like we really need something that is much brighter, much more visible for, why can't I get rid of it? Okay. For that one at the base of Spalding Memorial School, like this, you know, something that's much more, you know, visible, much brighter, that can really grab that, other than something just in the center of the street. Because like I said, you come down the hill, you're not even going to see it. So I kind of looked at these as well. These are like a flashing beacon system. As you can see, it's like a solar, and it might be something that we want to do that way. We don't need anything like this, like with crazy emergency, blah, 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 but at least something that has more so than just the crosswalk sign, but something that actually has a light on it. Because as we all know, Townsend is not like, covered with streetlights anywhere. So if we could get a little bit of extra visibility, especially in the winter when it's dark at 4, it would be kind of nice to have that there, especially. Regulatory signs. So again, this is that Permaline company that one of the companies that Jim sent over. We've got things looking like, again, we have these state law crosswalk signs like this. And then we've got bike lane, we're putting in our bike lanes. We can do it like this. Some of those places, bike may use full lane. So, these are the signs that are the MUTCD standard signs. So that was one of the things that we wanted to try for the most part to stick with those because there's trail options too. And Margaret, I believe you had said something about the MUTCD standard signs before. Could you clarify on that, what we should be looking for?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I had mentioned about the MUTCD signs.
It just sent us a link, I think.
Yeah.
That, and there was figure 8D or some such thing.
Okay. I think that was for the MUTCD wayfinding signs.
Mm-hmm.
So for regulatory signs, to put in a new regulatory sign, you're going to need to do a study, and you're going to need to have, either vehicle volumes and or pedestrian volumes. So I think within the time frame of this grant, it will be difficult to actually change the regulation. I would say for the crosswalk at the school, you might want to look at putting in a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. That's an RRFB. I'm sorry, there's a lot of towns that I might be mixing up. Have you guys been looking at Groton's Main Street?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So Groton, that's what Groton had sent to you. They installed RRFBs along their main street. That said, an RRFB is going to be in the range of $25,000. By the time you have that, and you also look at the pedestrian ramps in that area and make sure that, because if you're going to install an RFB, it's going to be a pedestal that's going to have you have to have a concrete base to install that pole. If you're doing that work, then you may as well do the ramps at the same time if the ramps are not compliant, which I think at the school they probably are not compliant. Yeah, no, they're not compliant. So I would view it as a good opportunity to just, get it done, do it right, do everything, do the ramps, do the striping, do the RFB, really have that location done. That way you don't have to go back to it and fix little things in the future. We recently did an estimate for the town of Hanson for something similar, crosswalk, with an RFB at a school, and it was in the range of about $50,000 by the time we added in the ramps and the striping for the grant application, just to give you a sense of how that might impact what you allot your project costs for the grant application to.
Margaret, just to clarify, do we need to have a study for those then? Or is that something that we can request? And we're crossing 119,
yeah.
So that would be a permit situation, perhaps.
Yeah, so I would suggest reaching out to the district to see what their thoughts are on that. A rapid flashing beacon is just a warning device. It is not a regulatory. It doesn't change the regulation of the road. It's not a signal. It is only a light that attracts the attention of drivers to people who are waiting to cross. So from that point of view, there's no, people may ask, do you have to meet a warrant, quote unquote? Do you have to meet certain thresholds or standards to install one? There is no warrant for an RFB. So there's a little bit of engineering judgment that goes into where to put one. This being a crosswalk in front of a school where you can, make the argument with, it makes complete sense that you'd have students crossing between the school and the rec center, as you said, taking that route. So I think it would be a logical choice.
So location-wise would be at the parking lot at Spalding, the crosswalk that's there. Is that correct?
And then down the bottom.
The one down at the bottom at the point.
At Turnpike.
Yeah,
The one, let's see, I'm looking at the one that's right near the school parking lot.
Yeah.
And then there's also the one, down at the bottom.
Could we go for both of those?
The one down at the bottom has no pedestrian signage, where the one at the parking lot at least has like a neon green sign. It doesn't have any flashing lights or anything, but there is a pedestrian sign there.
Yeah. So I think you have a lot of crosswalks that have basically no protection at this point. And so you are going to need to prioritize where you want to put in the most robust measures. I think the school makes the most sense as a starter because, you just know you have that pedestrian volume. The one that's at the end, at the fork, the land uses on either side, there's only, single family residential kind of on either side. So that's not saying that people aren't crossing there. I'm sure people are crossing there, but it's harder to make that argument about the pedestrian crossing volumes at that location.
But just up the street on Turnpike Road, there is an apartment complex.
Yeah, that's where primarily
further up.
Yeah.
I see with the parking lot.
Yeah.
Terrace Way. You do get a lot of walking through that area. It's like a cut through. And that's the best way to say it. It's a narrow cut through without having to go into the center of town.
I think it makes sense to take a progressive approach. So add what's not there today. So that location doesn't have any warning signs, right? That's something that you can put in on both sides. You would need 4 sets of warning signs, one for each side of the fork, and then for both directions of traffic. And it would be what you have here on your screen, the pedestrian warning sign, and then the diagonal down arrow. Those are the signs that you would want in that location. You can also add signs ahead, like 100 feet in advance. So it would be the same sign, the pedestrian warning sign, and then underneath the plaque would just say ahead. So it's just, put in the kind of low hanging fruit, and then and I think that's the approach that I think you can take for many of your crosswalks, because all of your crosswalks along Route 119 they're just uncontrolled, and there's really nothing there today. And so you kind of have to go through a escalation of okay, we tried the signs, now we tried the in-road, pedestrian crossing signs. That's also low hanging fruit. That wasn't sufficient. We looked at the data, we looked at the crashes, we listened to what people are telling us about their experience crossing the road there. Now we're going to escalate in the future to an RFB, or we're going to escalate to an actual geometric improvement like a curb extensions or a crossing island or something like that. But yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity that you can just do that low hanging fruit of the warning signs, the advanced warning signs, restriping, in-road crossing signs, and then save your big grant ask for a really priority location like the school or another location in the center of town.
So that's what I just put for my notes. I put this RRFB for up at the spot at the parking lot at Squanicook, because I agree that would be a really great spot. There's again a lot of walkthrough happens there, and cut through the parking lot is on that section. And then I just did notes for that bottom one, just to encapsulate, so I'm making sure I didn't miss anything, Margaret, that we're going to try and put some pedestrian ahead signage between the common and that crosswalk that's down at the bottom of the school at Turnpike and Main Street, that little V. And then we're going to go ahead and put just the standard parking, or the standard pedestrian and directional sign for that double crosswalk at the base. Did I miss anything?
Yeah. Signs, signs at the crossing itself, and then signs ahead of the crossings on every leg approaching.
Because if we can slow some folks down, because that is 45 coming out of that light, which is insane. But if we can slow them down a little bit before they get to that bounce, that would probably be really helpful.
So, Margaret, let me just make sure I'm going to give MassDOT a call about the permits for striping on Route 13 and Route 119. Am I understanding that we don't need any warrants or any permission from MassDOT to put those warning signs in that Emmy was just talking about? Or do I need to ask them about that too?
No warrants because you're not putting in a traffic signal. I don't know if there's a permit or, I think it's more just like, hey, we're thinking about doing these pedestrian safety improvements. What do we need from you to be able to do this project? And then let them tell you.
All right, I'll add that to my list of questions to ask them when I call them.
Yeah, when I look at all of these crosswalks on Main Street, I mean, honestly, they look a little scary. Like I can imagine how people must fly down that road. So, the truth is you're probably not going to see a change in driver behavior just from putting warning signs up, but like you do need to kind of go through that process so that you can say down the line, we tried this and we need a stronger measure in the future.
So on signage, Margaret, should we request those same sort of pedestrian signs like at the post office and at Bow Street and Depot at the existing and north of the Common on 13 for those crazy crosswalks up there?
Yes, every uncontrolled crossing. So every crosswalk where you don't have a signal that actually stops, or a stop sign that stops drivers, which is pretty much every crosswalk on Main Street. If there's not already a pedestrian warning sign, you'll want to have a pedestrian warning sign right at the crosswalk on both sides, facing drivers in both directions. And then depending on the spacing, so on Main Street, your crosswalks are have pretty good spacing. I think it depends on look at the land uses kind of adjacent and see whether or not you'd be impacting, somebody's walkway up to their house, for example. But all of those could also be candidates for having advanced warning signs as well. So essentially every crosswalk ends up having 4 signs.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So Emmy and Emily and Jen, the sign committee, just add that to your list of things to add. And I'll put a note about that under crosswalks in the abstract, that we want pedestrian warning signs there. This winds up being a bigger ask, than I anticipated when we started as far as shared streets and spaces go. Oh,
it can escalate quickly, especially because a lot of those crosswalks don't have compliant ramps. But
we don't.
The right thing to do would be to redo the ramps, but then the construction for that, it might be tough to do by May. So I would definitely flag all of those as you do need to fix them in the future, but luckily for you, they're already striped. So you don't have to justify why you're restriping it or adding signs.
Right. Okay. All right. Bike racks and repair stations, we have those pretty much. We have vendor links for those. I'm looking at our time. We have about 30 minutes left. And I want to make, so the decisions and the identifying vendors pretty much go together. And I think signage, we've pretty much talked about, striping crosswalks. Didn't Jim say we have a striping company that we contract with?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he did. I think Jim said that we have a company that we contract with that does the striping, that we contract out to do any of that. So we just need to know who it is.
Okay, I'm writing need JK to identify that, and I can.
And
do
the
that.
bike vendors, those are the ones that Jen sent us, correct? That we're going to go with and take a look. Yeah, to confirm what we want.
Yep. Okay. Do we need to look at those?
Yeah, I can pull we can pull let me see here. Did I pull up the bike rack? I did. Oh, hold on. Crosswalk signs, flashing beacons. Jen, do you have
to hop off around 11:30? She says, which is in 1 minute.
Yeah, I don't have. I mean, the bike racks are pretty standard. Oh, here's the bike repair stations. Let me see here.
Okay, can we hold on that for 1 minute?
Yeah, of course.
But Margaret, before you get off, where do you see us in this process? What's our next step?
So you have, let's see, 1, 2, 3 weeks left before the grant application. The things that you're going to need a map showing your project locations. We can help you with that. We can take the map that you've created and do something that that is a little bit more clear for the review committee. We can. Honestly, it sounds like you actually have you're quite organized, I would say, compared to some of the other towns that I'm working with. So yeah, so kudos. You're going to need to be able to show what you're actually installing in terms of the striping and the signs.
Go ahead.
So I think for some of your crosswalk locations, it's not, you could get away with just listing the locations and kind of describing what you're putting in, because you're not changing really the geometry. For some towns, we are actually having to draw the concept, and like kind of lay out what it looks like. I'm not sure where you've landed on bike lanes. If you are planning to do bike lanes, then that might be something that you'd actually want to have to, draw out and look at what does it look like on the ground. That's something that we can help with if you're able to provide us guidance on what you've decided to do. And then the opinion of probable cost. It sounds like you're getting you can get costs and quantities from from Jim. It was. But that's also something that we can help you with. I think our expertise is more in the traffic and transportation elements. So, if you're going to put in bike lanes, what are the materials you'll need and what are the quantities for each of the ped crossings? We can help with those types of things. The wayfinding signage for the trails, as I said in my email before, some of the more customized signs is something you'll have to design yourself later. We could try to help you with, if you have a sense of kind of what you've paid in the past, or maybe Adria, you have information on kind of more of that, like, I think of that as more of like a landscaping, placemaking type of element. But the MUTCD signs, the ones that are like the green, the ones that you had sent around that are the green standard, location, arrow, distance, we can help with developing those and the cost for those. But if you reach out to a vendor and you're telling them how many signs you want and they're telling you the cost, then essentially you've done that work, and that should be good to go.
So Margaret, when do we need, like, if we want you to draw out the bike lanes, which is probably what we're going to want, when do you need that to make the deadline for the grant?
So if we say we're spending next week putting some concepts on paper and getting something to you by towards the end of next week, say Thursday the 11th, then you can look at it and make decisions, review it, and have something back to us by the beginning of the week of February 15th. And then we have a week to make adjustments, send things back to you. And then you'd have the week of the 22nd to kind of wrap up your grant application. Like, that could be a doable schedule, but we'll definitely need to hear from you soon, definitely by Monday, to be able to start working on that.
Okay, so we'll try to get I think our bike lanes, we haven't talked about bike lanes yet this morning. I think our bike lanes are pretty well set. And
okay.
And the one-way street thing, we need to talk about that too. So we will get you our bike lanes tomorrow.
Yeah, that sounds good. If you just send me the locations, the to from, whether or not you're looking for it to be contraflow or regular direction, then that's enough for us to go on. And then I will send you over an example of what we've done for pedestrian crossing, like an RRFB for another town, so you can kind of see the level of like detail there. And I think that will be, and then we can be in touch over email.
Okay. So we'll get the bike lanes to you by tomorrow, Monday, the 15th. Tomorrow's the 5th, right? Oh boy, I'm a week off. Tomorrow's the 5th, so we'll get that to you. Monday the 15th is a holiday, I believe. So, all right, let me get that to you.
Okay.
So we'll finalize that, and that will help keep us moving along.
Okay. Great. I mean, from my perspective, it sounds like you are all, in great shape and organized, but it's a matter of like getting to the final list, which you're clearly doing. So that's great. Yeah. And
we will also get to you. It won't be tomorrow, but by the end of next week, a map showing where we want where everything is, where our signs are. We have to, and what types they are.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay, is that good? So that'll be, I work best on deadline. Is it too late if we get it to you like on Wednesday of next week?
Wednesday, the 10th?
The 10th.
That should be okay.
Is that too late?
That would be for all of the signs, the wayfinding signs?
That would be, so that we can put in the map showing the project locations, where we're putting signs, where we're putting bike rack. My funky map here.
Yeah.
This lovely map, get it to you and make it real.
Yeah, I think the locations of the bike racks and the bike repair stations are less important because we can do that at the end when we make the final project locus map. The highest priority are your final list of ped crossing locations and kind of what you're thinking in terms of the priority of like how aggressive the treatment is, kind of based on what we talked about today. Okay. The bike lanes, and then the wayfinding signs would be helpful for you to provide a detailed list of where you're thinking the signpost would go and the locations that the signs would direct people to. Okay.
So we are hoping to piggyback on existing signs. So we should note that as well when we're doing that, correct?
Yeah. You mean if you have signs that are already out there
because of historical issues.
Oh, you mean you want to mount a sign on an existing pole?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay. All right. And when is it good to get, bike lanes will get to you tomorrow?
Or Monday. Monday would be okay too.
Okay. And put crosswalks on that as well?
That would be good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go with Monday for those two, and signage sometime further on in the week when
that sounds good.
Pass it together. Okay.
And you want, with the pedestrian crossing ones, I'm sorry, I got some company at the office. You want the sign type that we want with the pedestrian crossing and whether or not it needs a ramp?
I think, no, I don't need to have all of that information because I can just,
Just where?
I think the final list of locations, because you've got a lot. And I think it looks like some of the striping is more faded in some places than others. So, you'll want to decide, is this faded enough that we want to restripe the crosswalk, or do we just want to, keep the crosswalk as is, add signs that don't currently exist? Like, of course, I'll look at them as well. And if I'm seeing something that seems like, this really should be addressed, then I'll let you know.
Mark, did we send you Emily's and Bonnie's crosswalk study?
Yep, I have it. Yeah, I was taking notes on it as you were talking. But it did seem like we moved through it and it was like, okay, we'll add this one, we'll add that one. I couldn't quite follow which one. So we were adding.
Okay.
So I think we weren't adding anything new, but just wanted to restripe all that's there in that document. Am I representing that correctly?
Yeah, with the exception of the ones that just got redone. I want to say the ones up at the school that aren't really that faded. Certainly if we can get them redone, great. But I want to say they just got redone a couple of years ago.
You mean Hawthorne Brook?
Yeah, at Hawthorne Brook. I think it was just a couple of years ago that they got done. Because I remember going through there and there was it had faded to nothing too. And I think they might have done it the same time when they did the high school ones.
I think so too. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we need to, basically every other crosswalk on there is completely trashed.
Yeah. And we will beef up the one at Spalding School at the parking lot and add the RFFB, whatever, and more signage at the one down at the point at Turnpike Road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for every if you just give me the crosswalk locations that you want either, something done or restriping, then I can figure out what signs would go there.
Great.
For Honeyland Farms, did you want to do something with that corner? Like, are you able to build a new sidewalk, a little stretch of sidewalk there?
That question is outstanding to the Historical Society, our commission. And we will see what we come back with.
Okay.
We would like to do that.
It would be nice, yeah. It would be nice to build a sidewalk, even just like a very short stretch of sidewalk, really just on the corner to the end of the driveway.
Mm-hmm. Just around that corner would be wonderful.
Yeah.
If we can do it. So if we can get permission for that, it's in the town right away, but
yeah,
we'll see what we can do on that. The other sidewalk piece, do we still want that? That's from Jeff Street down to the rail trail crossing.
Jeff Street down to the rail trail crossing.
Yeah.
That would be an additional crosswalk, correct, Veronica?
We're not putting a crosswalk in there because we don't have a flow study.
Oh, right.
But we wanted to redo the sidewalk.
Okay.
Where, so there's an existing asphalt sidewalk there that's a little bit, it's pretty much pavement level. If you can show me on a map or like send me on a map exactly what stretch of sidewalk you want to redo, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Like if you zoom into an aerial on Google Maps and just like draw a line, that would be sufficient.
Okay, so maybe we want to include the Honeyland Farm corner too, and let's just go for it and see if we get turned down.
Yeah, let's see. At least I can see what a potential cost might be, and then you can decide.
Okay, all right.
Hey, Joan, when you're looking through all that paperwork on the signage for the commission there, could you also look about the sidewalks and height, depth, whatever? Because I feel like I read something. I don't think it was in section 8. I think it might have been in section 6 about sidewalks. Okay. So would you mind doing that?
Oh, yes. That's a great point. Yeah, if you are able to do sidewalks, please give me information on the dimensions, the width of the sidewalk and the height. That would be great.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Margaret. Thank you for joining us, and we'll send you our notes, and I'm just going to add you to my shared streets and spaces list. Is that okay, or am I sending you too much stuff?
No, that's okay. Yeah, I'll do my best to try to look at everything, but yeah. Okay. Thanks for including me in the meeting. All right, thanks. All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Sorry, Emmy, I just wanted to get Margaret's thoughts before she had to leave.
No, definitely, for sure. So I was just thinking, instead of all of us going through all of these, the bike looks and the sign looks and stuff, why don't Emily, Jen, and I get together, put together like a quick sheet of what we're recommending for which types of signs where, and then we can and then at our very next meeting, we can sort of decide. If you guys give us until that, because she said the signs we don't need to get to her on Monday, that's soon enough later on. But if we could do that way, we're not looking through all of us together, wasting time looking through 15 different styles and 12 different kinds of posts and all that other stuff. Does that make more sense, Jen, you guys? Does that work a little bit better?
And your secondary task, even though it doesn't have to be ready to go to Margaret, is make a decision on what bike racks we want. Yeah. And which repair stations, the amenities list. Bike racks.
Joan W., do you, if you have a preference that you know, because you're one of our bigger cyclists in this area that you think is more easily used, that you can point us in the direction of, or something that you think is better, if you want to send that to us. Otherwise, Jenna did some research already, so we can go ahead and just pull up the ones that we have and give you these are the repair stations that we want, and these are the bike racks that we want, and just be done.
Yeah, I think you guys go ahead. I think you know the ones at the town library that they just put in a couple years ago. Those are nice, simple. Just one thing to stay away from is the schools. They may have taken them out, but Hawthorne Brook Middle School used to have some of those that did little U-turns like this, and they were just foolish. They were just useless.
So we want straight racks, obviously, that are the right size for the area that we're going to put them in.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and what I will do is I'm going to the bike lanes, and Joan W., if you don't mind being in on this with me, consulting over the next day.
Okay.
The bike lanes, where we can send Margaret what streets we want the bike lines in and what flow. It's basically what we've already decided on, correct?
Yeah. I sent you one suggestion. I just sent you an email.
Oh, okay. All right. So if we can work together on that and the crosswalks, I'm essentially going to put in restriping every existing crosswalk with, and let her decide on where we need it beefed up for pedestrian signage. And the one that we want, the RFB, whatever it is, at the Spalding parking lot. Does that make sense? And if you guys are good with it, I'll just run it by Joan W. and we'll get it off to her so she can start putting that together for us.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. On the bike lanes, let me just say the one way on Jeff Street, Jim Kreidler told me at the meeting on Tuesday that we, the selectmen, were like God on streets in Townsend, and we could do whatever we wanted. So I sent, I did not want it to be a situation where I become God, and then when God goes to act, I find out that, there are other forces involved. So I sent it to Adam, the town council, to confirm that, and he sent me stuff this morning, which I will send to you guys. But essentially, we have to, I have to talk to the highway department because Jeff Street that one-way section is, from Town Road, but down to a state road. And so we need to get that confirmed by, it's either Jim Smith or it's Mass DOT. So I'm adding that to my Mass DOT list.
Yeah, see, Margaret sent one that said that it looks like only 119 is DOT owned with some small stretches on 13, and she sent a link. So maybe we can see if that section is part of DOT or not.
Right, okay. And then the other thing is that we, the Board of Selectmen, have to vote on it, being one way. We have to publish it in a newspaper there's a time period before it becomes one way. But I think for public relations, Jen, I don't know where you are in the neighbor contacts, and I have requested a public meeting to go over everything for February 11th, which might be too soon. February 18th might be better. I don't know. When we're more finalized, but to get the concept out in the community. So I asked Hartley, and I haven't heard back yet. He might have answered me, but I haven't looked at email, for that from 7 to 8 on Thursday evening. Thursdays, there aren't a lot of town groups that meet, so I was hoping that would be a time where we could get Hartley's support for the Zoom. Joan, yeah.
I believe public meetings have to be advertised in the paper.
This is not a hearing. It's a meeting. So yeah, I think, and we should advertise it actually. That might be a good thing. So let me find out on that. Good point. So. It's not a hearing. It doesn't fall under, it's just us being nice and telling the community.
Well, if it's a public forum that's required, you have to prove a public forum has been held that goes in a grant package to show that, there was community outreach and all. I'm pretty sure those have to be publicly advertised.
Okay. I will find out.
I mean, we could call it an information night. I mean, that's a little bit different even.
Yep. I should look at the grant and see if they require something on that. So.
Because many of them do.
Well, if it's not the 11th, then I'll request the 18th, which is school vacation week. But, school vacation these days means that instead of your kids being on the computer at home during school or going back, I don't know if people are leaving.
Probably most people aren't.
Yeah, probably not so much.
Pardon me?
Probably not so much.
Right. So, so it might be even better to do a school vacation. I don't know. People might not feel as stressed having to do everything for their kids' learning and also for their own work, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. So, all right. So just put that on your calendar, either the 11th or the 18th. Hartley just sent a message saying the Housing Authority meets on Thursday nights. Joan, do you know if you guys have any meetings scheduled coming up? Joan?
The trust fund does not. The Housing Authority may. I'll pull up the town calendar right now.
I didn't see anything on it last night.
I haven't heard.
Okay. All right. So
I think there's supposed to be a planning board meeting on Monday, though.
on Monday there is, Monday the 8th. There is, but I'm looking for Thursdays for public. I planning, as long as I told Lance, if you put us on the schedule between 6:30 and 7, I can attend. But I have another 7 o'clock meeting that night. So I might have to rely on you guys, depending on where it is, to attend the planning board meeting virtually to talk about this.
I have it on. I do have it on my calendar, and I'm assuming the link and stuff for it is on the website.
Yeah, there should be an agenda up today if it isn't there right now.
Okay.
So, because it's a Monday meeting, so they have to have their agenda up today. So, Adria will be at the planning board meeting for MVP. All right, so yeah, so if you can talk about this too, Adria. Thank you. So if other people are, I may or may not be there. It depends on the timing. So, thanks, Adria. We appreciate it. So, anything else? Joan, anything else on the location decisions, design decisions, identifying vendors? We've done pretty well on that, I think. Grant verbiage. Joan, is that ready to go out to a bigger audience?
You mean the template?
The template for the grant, yeah.
Yeah, do you want it to go? Well, I thought I sent it out to, I'll try again.
Did you send it out to everybody? I'm not sure, I'm sorry.
I'll try it again, and I'll send it to everybody on this meeting today.
Okay. I should say this is just related for grant things going forward. The town doesn't have a current ADA plan, and we had requested a grant funding from the state to update it, and we were turned down. So there's an August timeframe for getting it worked on to turn in. I don't have those. I went to the meeting yesterday afternoon. Anyway, I think these are some things that we want to talk about in the ADA plan, that we will request funding to build it again in the fall. I think the August was when we start working on it. It might be September or October when you put in for funding. And we got turned down in December. So, and then yesterday we just found out why we were turned down. So anyway, we have to put together so if you know of anybody, we have to put together a disability. We have a disabilities commission that was just maybe 2 town meetings ago. The town said, yes, let's do that, maybe 3, I don't know. But it was never appointed. So we have to appoint a commission on disabilities. So that's will be on the BLS agenda to get that posting up as well. So we just have to get our commissions in town populated with people. So if you know anybody that has an interest in ADA compliance, talk it up, and the posting will be coming out hopefully at the next BOS meeting. So just put that plug in there, because we're going to be asking for DIPs in the future. We need to get our act together and plan. This is what we want to do. These are the grants we can go for. This is the pre-work we need to do to get there, and go from there. So we don't have a land use coordinator or a grant writer on staff at Town Hall. So, and we haven't for maybe 2 or 3 years. And we need that. Nobody that stayed for very long. But anyway, so there we go. We're going to get there.
Yeah, determined to get there. Determined.
So anyway, all right. So Joan, you'll send out your document.
Yep.
And I have Margaret, traffic and transportation. I have all these little notes here. And Emily, and Jen, I will update with what I can and get that to you this afternoon. I have until 3:00 for the next thing. So I will get that to you, and then I'm sending you the doc, and you can feel free to, if you want to break it out and make it, this is signage, and maybe Joan W., you and I can break out, this is crosswalks and bike lanes to ship off to Margaret tomorrow to get her going on that. Maybe that's what we wind up doing. So I'll keep the abstract as one big, but if we want to pull it apart, feel free. I'll just get docs to everybody.
Just be careful, because once you start getting, just having worked with documents, once you start breaking up and having multiple moving parts, control starts to get a little bit sketchy. Version control.
Should I put this in Google Docs? And can we all access it there?
Yeah. No. Well, it would be Google Drive with a completed document like this.
If I send,
you could paste it into. I can put it in Google Docs if you send me a version.
Okay, maybe we can put it there, and then everybody can update in that single document, so we have it all in one place.
Yeah.
Would that
would work better.
Okay, I'm not the best document control person, so I appreciate that. I'll send it to you, Joan, and then you can send the links out.
Okay.
So, okay. And then we'll figure out what we're going to send to, as far as bike lanes and crosswalks.
Okay.
To Margaret. Anything else on next steps? It's almost 12:00.
It looks like we just got an email from Eric Chartrand about a lot of the questions that we had. So we just got it 2-3 minutes ago, just to give you guys a heads up.
Real quick, Tim, on that, at that stage 1.
What was that? Okay. All right. So we'll look at that email and, go from there.
When do we meet again?
When would you guys like to meet? I don't have anything on the schedule other than if we're doing a public meeting. Maybe we're not ready for that. Maybe the 18th is better. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
And then let's just, if Thursday mornings work for people, I'll just schedule a Thursday morning. I'll talk to Hartley and ask him to change it to Thursday morning, the 11th, 10 to 12 for our next group meeting. And by then signs will be ready to let us know, maybe, wherever you're at, it's not like, wherever you're at. And Margaret might have something for us on bike lanes. I don't know. And Joan, you might have information.
I got Jim Smith is calling me. I'll get back to you guys.
We've got everybody going.
Good.
Anyway.
So we'll try to get the wayfinding information to you guys before our Thursday meeting, just so you have something to review ahead of that. Sounds good?
Does that fit for you guys? Can you guys get that done, do you think, Emily? It's a week.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's good. Yeah. Everybody has a task. Bonnie, I'm assuming you're going to slide in with Emmy and Emily and Jen wherever you can help.
Yes, I will support them however they need.
And Adria will be our main talking point at the planning board meeting.
That sounds great.
Okay with you, Adria?
That sounds great. And I was wondering, when you were talking about advertising a future public meeting, if we need to post anything on social media, I could help draft up some quick posts. If there are any Facebook pages we could post to, something like that.
That would be great. If you want to start drafting something for one way on Jeff Street and a public information session for maybe the 18th, and we'll find out what time stuff we need. And I'm not the best. I don't monitor a lot of social media pages in Townsend. So if people want to send to Adria what pages you think it should go on, feel free.
That'd be great.
I post regularly on Nextdoor for important dates and meetings, and there's a vote next week, stuff like that, and people really do see that one.
If you want to email, I don't monitor that at all. So if you want to email that to Adria so she knows where to put it up, that would be great.
Sure.
That'd be
And
very
any
helpful.
other ones that you guys use, feel free. So I just always have to figure out how to post on those things, and I never do it right and have to edit it. And then it's, anyway, I'm not so good. I don't even do my own personal page that much. So feel free. All right. So what do you think, you guys? Are we pretty much under control? Should we wait for Emmy to get off the phone, or should we see if she will email us? What would you guys like to do?
I think we're in really good shape, and Emmy can always follow up. If there's any news.
Yeah, I think that's good. So we all have our assignments. I'll get updating right now. Get the map updated for you guys. I'll see if Dennis can't get that done by this afternoon as well, and we'll get it out to you. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Got a lot done. All right. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.